Alright, I know it's been a while since we've done one of these, but I'm just gonna jump straight back into it like nothing ever happened, like some sort of neglectful, absent father. After all, how can you miss us if we won't go away? But we are back at it once again here at Trash Network with the clickbait list content, and what better way to welcome ourselves back into content creation than by tearing down some people who are far richer, far more successful, and have far more talent than I will ever have in my entire life. Age gets to us all eventually, except me, of course. I will be young and beautiful forever, and I'm never going to die. But for most people, putting on a few pounds, losing a step professionally, and just generally not being what you used to be is an unavoidable part of life. In sports, there's a limit. When an athlete gets to a certain age, they retire before becoming a pitiful shadow of their former selves. Musicians, especially singers, however, do not, with many choosing to croon on well past their sell-by dates to legions of booing fans who inexplicably still buy a ticket to every single tour. Don't get me wrong, not every frontman in rock or metal has a slow and depressing decline. Mick Jagger, for example, could give many of the younger frontmen in rock a run for their money, while fellow member of the 70-plus club Alice Cooper seems to be ageless. The people on this list, however, are not Mick Jagger or Alice Cooper. And just to let you know, we actually love most of these musicians, and the list is all made in good fun. We don't mean to offend said musicians or their fans, we just loves the banter here at Trash Network. But before we go any further, don't forget to hit subscribe and click the little bell icon to be notified first about all of Trash Network's videos, and oh god, it feels good to be saying that again. Anyway, these are 5 frontmen who lost it. Number 5, SERJ TANKIAN. This one is my least favourite entry because I love SERJ. He seems like an intelligent and articulate dude, and I wish he didn't spring to mind almost instantly when I was coming up with the potential candidates for this list. Representing a younger generation of bands compared to some of the other entries on here, System of a Down's frontman just hasn't been himself in recent years. Visually, he's still the same old SERJ, albeit a little more grizzled and grey, but it's not so much his physical appearance that has deteriorated, so much as his vocal work. There was a time where SERJ TANKIAN's voice was untouchable, boasting one of the finest vocal ranges of the late 90s and early 2000s, a form that continued well into the Wake Up the Souls tour of the mid-2010s. But it was towards the end of the aforementioned decade that fans began to notice that SERJ couldn't quite hang like he used to, stretching to hit the spectacular notes that he once hit with ease, never more evident than with System's disastrous headline set at the UK's Download Festival in 2017. Although SERJ does only make it to number 5 on this list due to the quality displayed in System's pair of 2020 singles Protect the Land and Genocidal Humanoids, and compared to the rest of the entries you're about to see, he looks and sounds like a fucking god in comparison. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those. Buckle up. Number 4, Paul Stanley. Ah yes, one of Kiss's 2 frontmen predictably makes this list, and this time it's Paul Stanley just slightly edging out Gene Simmons, although some would argue that Gene never really had it to begin with. In actuality though, Gene managed to stay on top of his game far longer than his star child counterpart, who has been lacking in the vocal department now for well over a decade. One need only skim over some of Kiss's prominent live performances from 2008 onwards to see that Stanley's once earth-shatteringly powerful and high-pitched vocals are now well and truly a thing of the past. Paul's vocals have deteriorated to such an extent that Kiss have even had to resort to playing in lower tuning to accommodate his voice, much to the detriment of their overall sound. It has also been well noted over the years by the likes of Eddie Trunk that, as well as the rest of the band, Stanley has been no stranger to using backing tracks during his live shows, which is fucking sickening when Kiss are charging almost $200 for a ticket. Honestly, these days Stanley kinda just squawks like a giant bird, which is hilarious when you remember that feathered stage attire that he wore during the Monster tour, and funnier still when you learn that Kiss's original demo for Strutter, the first track on their first album, was called Stan the Parrot. And you know, I think I might just start referring to Paul Stanley as Stan the Parrot in all future lists. Who am I kidding? I'll probably forget. On the plus side, Stanley is in excellent shape for a man in his late 60s and seems to have more than enough left in the tank to wrap up Kiss's End of the Road farewell tour in the coming years, pulling off all the old stage tricks that Kiss are so well known for with relative ease. It's just a shame that the iconic I Was Made for Loving You high note is now laying firmly in a shallow grave. But let's just hope this farewell tour is an actual farewell tour, unlike the last one, which was followed by an over 2-decade stretch of Kiss as an active band. Great job there, guys. Great job. Number 3. Axl Rose. A lot of you watching will doubtless be surprised not to find Axl Rose at the top spot of this list, and while your expectations are not unfounded, I have come to smash them to pieces with this giant hammer of unpredictability. Welcome to the Thunderdome. Rose's steady decline has been something of a running joke among rock fans in recent decades, with the Guns N' Roses frontman completely unrecognisable, both physically and vocally. Some of the mockery got quite nasty at points, with memes sporting slogans like "Welcome to the jungle, we got tons of cake," over certain unflattering images of Axl doing the rounds on social media for a while, with a couple of videos dubbed the Axl Rose disaster easily findable on YouTube, documenting some truly dire performances from Guns N' Roses' Chinese democracy era. And I don't really want to be mean here, but what the was he thinking with that yellow raincoat? You know the one I mean. You know the one. Ugh. On a more serious note, Rose has been noted to allegedly need an oxygen mask to get through a set these days, which is pretty sad. But maybe a set would be easier for him if the current Guns N' Roses shows didn't span nearly 4 hours with 68 costume changes thrown in for good measure. Although he does tend to gas out right after that Welcome to the Jungle intro, but you know what? I actually kind of get that. To be fair to Axl, he has gotten himself into much better shape since reuniting with Slash and Duff McKagan on the Not In This Lifetime tour back in the late 2010s, and his run with AC/DC following the brief retirement of Brian Johnson was surprisingly impressive. That being said, Axl's live performances can be severely hit or miss in modern times, especially when he's playing the title track from Chinese Democracy. Seriously, go and listen to any modern live performance of that, which might call the price of a Guns N' Roses ticket into question. I doubt it worries him very much though, because he's still filling stadiums with one of the biggest bands ever. So I guess f*** me, right? Number 2. Meatloaf. Meatloaf is an interesting entry to add to this list because you've probably never heard most of his music, and to be perfectly honest, I haven't either. But from what I can gather, this loaf has certainly gone stale. I'll show myself out. It would be easy to argue that Jack Black's dad never actually had it, and there is a case to be made for that. But his voice in his heyday was unreasonably powerful, and his 2 Bat Out of Hell albums are some of rock's most easily recognisable. So why then is the former bitch tits Bob on this list? Well, let me offer you a short video clip in explanation. I'll do anything for love, but I won't f***ing talk about Meatloaf anymore. So let's just forget that we all saw that and just move on. Number 1, Vince Neil. Right, okay, when we saw that Axl Rose came in at number 3, we all knew we'd find ourselves here eventually. Vince Neil is the king of the deteriorated frontmen, and we at Trash Network wouldn't have him any other way. Vince Neil, through the 1980s, was a blonde, bronze pretty boy, sporting great high-pitched vocals with an almost cowboy-like twang. He was one of the definitive glam metal frontmen, from perhaps the subgenre's most well-liked act. Now he is essentially a meme, with the internet taking many mean-spirited jabs at his physical appearance, dubbing him Vince Meal, and altering the titles of several Motley Crue songs to fit this mockery, some of which I will now list for the purposes of journalism and literally nothing else. Smoking ribs in the boys' room, grills, 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 Dr. Mealgood, cooks that grill, live fryer, and slice of your pie, which is the actual title of an actual Motley Crue song from the album Dr. Feelgood, which quite frankly doesn't need any change in. Funny how things work out. It isn't just Vince's physique that gets a bashing from fans, they also, far more fairly I might add, lambast him for his dire efforts in the vocal department. In the years leading up to the Crue's short-lived farewell in 2015, videos of their live performances began to go viral on YouTube and on social media for all the wrong reasons. These videos featured the out-of-shape Neil crooning along to several Motley Crue classics, shrieking indeterminate shrieks, and making inaudible noises where his lyrics once were. This got so bad that the internet even had to have a go at translating more or less every word that came out of Neil's mouth. These videos are easily findable on YouTube and well worth the watch if you're looking for a quick laugh. But I think what sets Vince apart more than anything from the rest of this list is the time he got into a physical altercation with Nicolas Cage of all people outside a Las Vegas hotel, when the former Ghost Rider and enemy of the Bees stepped in following Neil allegedly dragging a woman to the ground by her hair when she asked Cage, but not Neil, for an autograph. Here is a brief clip.
Stop this now! Give my ring! Is this a communist country or something? I thought this is America!
I think what this list reminds us more than anything is that the people we consider, or once considered to be, our heroes are human just like us. They age just like we do, and when you've had the admiration of millions of screaming fans for decades, it can be hard to let that go, even when your body and those same fans who once adored you are telling you that it's probably time. Humans are all heavily flawed, and sometimes the wealth and fame that comes with being a successful musician can amplify certain bad habits. The list also reminds us that fundamentally, we are all just apes making our slow march towards the grave. So, you know, be kind to each other, because it's all in good fun. And that's the list. Did I miss any out? Am I wrong? Would you like to insult me for having a different opinion to you? Well, you can let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to see more videos like this. And you can check out some of our other content right here. You've been watching Trash Network, and I'll see you next time.